Welcome to Through the Pressure-Free Living Lens with Elle Ingalls. That's me. If you're unfamiliar with my work, you can go to my site. That's elleingles.com or pressure-free.com. We'll get you there too. And what I do is I help people understand the stress response, what's going on with the stress response, and how we can stop the release of stress hormones from flooding us and messing with us. I want to talk about something I'm referring to as the elegant pivot, because we've heard that word a lot during COVID, but I want to use it in a completely different context, although there will be some similarities because people talked about pivoting back then when suddenly you didn't have a job or your job changed. In my case, my speaking engagements all got shut down and I had to pivot to speaking online. But pivot, I saw a very elegant physical pivot over the weekend. My middle son and his wife booked a really cool log cabin on Drummond Island, which is off of the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. You have to take a ferry to get there. So ferry trip there and back. It should take about 5 minutes, but on the way back, it took longer. It took about 15 minutes, and here's why. There was a huge freighter. The strait, the 1 mile strait between the mainland and Drummond Island, is a freighter route. And so on the way back, we could see this huge freighter coming, the Joseph L. Block freighter, 700 feet long, coming through the strait, coming right to where we need to cross. And so all the cars are loaded on. And I figured that the ferry operator would wait until the freighter had passed before we head over. The ferry operator did not wait. Suddenly you could see that we were moving away from the shore. And it was like, for a moment there, I was like, what is this guy doing, right? We came out into the strait and then he pivoted. He shifted the ferry. So we went broadside to the freighter. And then he actually went backwards across the mile-long strait and then pivoted again to come into the dock to let off all the cars. So I'm calling this the elegant pivot because ever since I experienced it, it's caused me to think about times in my life, things that happen that cause us to have to pivot, to move, maybe go sideways for a bit, maybe go backwards for a bit before we actually get to some kind of destination and we have success in our endeavors. And I thought about the fact that people on podcasts will say, so what made you get into this performance coaching? And I thought, well, I didn't just wake up one day and say, I'm going to be a performance coach. It's been a decades-long journey of being a performing violinist, of learning to be a conductor, of getting a business degree, of being a mother and a wife and an athletic coach, and like all of this stuff, right? All of these things that have happened in my life, but then there's some sort of I do some sort of adaptation, like I move, I change, I do a pivot, and suddenly I'm over here doing this, and then I pivot again, and suddenly I'm over here doing this. So how's that been working in your life? Like, where do you see yourself pivoting? Where do you see yourself taking things that maybe you didn't think you would ever do? You didn't even know you would ever do them. And it gets into the fact that this weekend, I'm going to be hosting an online retreat of planning for 2025. So how do we plan and allow for the pivot? How do we plan and at the same time stay really open to something that might be even better than what we imagined we might like to see happen? That is the fun work that I'm going to do this weekend with whomever wishes to come. So I'll drop the link down below here. But watching that pivot, there's just so many things I'm looking at in business, in life, where we think we're going this way, but then we make a shift. How easily can you shift? And does the shifting trigger you? Like all of these little things come into play when we're trying to figure out life and what comes next and what we want to see happen and how we react to the things that happen in our life. Are we able to elegantly pivot when there's an obstacle, when something shows up that's unexpected? Or do we flounder? Do we trigger the stress response and it kind of shoots our whole day because we're just not able to cope very well, think very well, focus? So that was my little episode for you today. Hope it's helpful. We're going to see if this Facebook Live worked, and I wish you a great pressure-free day. Bye.